Good evening, and thank you for joining us for this special edition of Mid-Michigan Now at 6. I'm Mike Woolfolk.
And I'm Stella Daskalakis. The highly anticipated Michigan primary election is here, and voters are deciding several key races and ballot issues.
The most notable races will determine the Democratic and Republican nominees for governor and U.S. Senate, but we also have various congressional and state legislative races on tonight's ballot.
We begin tonight with a look at the race for governor. Incumbent Gretchen Whitmer is term limited and cannot seek a third term. On the Republican side, Congressman John James and businessman Perry Johnson are battling for their party's nomination. On the Democratic side, Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson is facing off against someone we know quite well here in mid-Michigan, and that's Genesee County Sheriff Chris Swanson. He announced his run for governor 18 months ago in February of last year. Mid-Michigan Now's Courtney Bennett is covering the Swanson campaign tonight. She's here with us with more on this race. Courtney.
Democratic candidate for Governor Chris Swanson, like Mike mentioned, is better known here in Genesee County as sheriff. Now he's looking to trade that title in for one much bigger. He wants to lead the state as governor. We were there in February of 2025 when Swanson made his announcement to run for governor.
My platform is simple because it's always worked. I'm going to protect, I'm going to serve, and I'm going to unify.
That's what he's carried throughout his entire campaign. He visited our studios in October where he told Mid-Michigan Now anchor Mike Woolfolk that as he's made his way throughout the state, the issues are all the same.
People just want to be taken care of, safe schools, the economy, and more importantly, how do we bring people together?
Swanson says he's running as a working class candidate. At a recent campaign stop, Swanson tells us that as sheriff, it was his goal to make life better, and that's what he plans to do if elected as governor.
They're going to get a leader who leads all people, not divisive, but also is going to get things done. I'm not going to make decisions based on re-election or who's giving me the most money. We're going to do it right and let those results speak and watch what happens.
Swanson says if elected, every policy will have to protect, serve, and unify people. He says those are non-negotiable. For now, live in the studio, Courtney Bennett, Mid-Michigan Now.
All right, Courtney, thank you. And you, of course, will be with Sheriff Swanson in Saginaw tonight as the results come in. Meanwhile, Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson's team is hosting a watch party in Detroit. Our political reporter, Remington Hernandez, is there and has more on Benson's campaign.
Jocelyn has been in charge of Michigan's elections and motor vehicles for 8 years now, and she goes in tonight the favorite to hold the mantle for the Democratic Party for the governor's race.
During her 2 terms, she's been outspoken on voting and elections, especially in the wake of the 2020 election when President Donald Trump challenged the results. She recently championed the Michigan Voting Rights Act, seeking to protect voters.
It's time for us to lock arms, pass a Voting Rights Act for the state of Michigan, because history shows that when we stand together and refuse to stop fighting, we can win the fight against racial injustice.
Benson launched her gubernatorial campaign last year with the message of lowering costs, maintaining she's the only one with real plans to lower health care, housing, and energy costs, improve public education, and make government work better.
Together, we are going to make Michigan the best place in the nation to be a kid, raise a family, and call home. And we will work every day to drive down costs, grow our economy, and protect our community.
Benson fully expects to win tonight, and the polls are on her side. Her campaign says she has about $6.4 million in cash on hand for the general election and has reserved $10 million for advertising. In Detroit, I'm Remington Hernandez reporting.
Thank you, Remington. Republican candidate John James is in Sterling Heights tonight and will give his final remarks as polls close. Autumn Pitcher is there with the latest updates.
As a combat veteran, businessman, and congressman, John James is running to make Michigan more affordable, safer, and stronger again. After serving 8 years active duty in the U.S. Army, James returned home to Michigan to build jobs and strengthen Michigan's economy. The congressman for Michigan's 10th district and proud ally of President Trump says education is one of his top priorities, wanting more accountability for school funding. He also wants to repeal the state income tax, saying that by doing so, the typical family would keep nearly $5,000 a year, and plans to better protect the environment. Prior to being elected to Congress, James served as president of a supply chain and logistics company. The congressman says he's guided by his faith, family, and service in putting Michiganders first. And James ran for the Michigan governor's seat in 2022, but was disqualified due to invalid petition signatures. His decision to run for governor leaves Michigan's 10th congressional seat up for grabs. Reporting in Sterling Heights, I'm Autumn Pitcher.
Autumn, thank you for that report. Businessman and fellow Republican Perry Johnson is hosting his election night party in Troy, which is also just outside Detroit. Reporter Colin Roos is with the Johnson team tonight.
Johnson first ran for Michigan governor in 2022, but did not qualify for the primary ballot. Tonight, he faces off against Congressman John James, telling voters that his business experience will make Michigan run more efficiently. The centerpiece of Johnson's campaign is what he calls the mega audit. If elected, he wants every state department to show how they're spending taxpayer funds and to rebuild their budgets from scratch every year. He also hopes to lower Michigan's property taxes and completely eliminate the income tax, which he claims will save a family of 4 thousands per year.
They love the fact that we are going to be efficient. I've spent my life bringing quality and efficiency to companies, to the Navy, to DOD.
Johnson has positioned himself as an outsider to state politics. He's called for a pause to data center projects throughout Michigan, criticizing what he perceives as cronyism between Lansing and developers.
And then they're beholden to these special interest groups. You have the data centers, a perfect example. The data centers are going up like crazy because they were given special breaks.
Johnson shares a similar stance with his opponent on education. Both feel that parents should have more say in what their kids learn and want to hold schools more accountable for student achievement. In Troy, I'm Colin Roos.
Thank you, Colin. All eyes in Michigan and across the country are on the Senate race between Democrats Haley Stevens and Abdul El-Sayed, which could give us clues about the direction of the party in our state. Abdul El-Sayed ran for governor in 2018 and is a former director of the Wayne County Department of Health, Human and Veteran Services. He says growing up, he had no ambitions of being a politician. He worked in health care, but he made the move several years ago because of what he calls our broken politics.
I'm running for U.S. Senate because in the state that built the American dream, it shouldn't be this hard just to get by.
To pay our bills, or afford our groceries, or see our doctors, or get our politicians in D.C. to give a damn about us.
His website says he supports changing the makeup of the Supreme Court and getting corporate money out of politics. He also wants to abolish ICE.
Haley Stevens is no stranger to Michigan politics. She currently serves in Congress representing parts of Oakland County. Now she hopes to take that experience across the Capitol to the upper chamber and serve Michigan in the U.S. Senate. Before her election to Congress, Stevens first gained national attention while helping to oversee the federal response to the auto industry crisis during the Obama administration. She has highlighted protecting access to abortion, lowering costs for working families, and defending democratic institutions as key priorities.
This has been about standing up for Michigan in a tough and uncertain moment with all the chaos and abuses of power that the Trump administration has brought down, the rising costs that have really hit working families and small businesses.
Tonight's primary winner will move on to the general election in November to face off against former Congressman Mike Rogers, who is running unopposed in the Republican primary. As a reminder, the polls are open until 8 o'clock tonight. If you are in line by then, you will get to vote. Do not forget to have a valid state ID, driver's license, or passport with you.
And for a complete list of all the races and results happening across Mid-Michigan, head to our website, midmichigannow.com.